BYU Family History Library. Our presenter is Richard Miller, who is the developer of Goldie Mae, and we appreciate his time and effort to be with us today and to share his expertise, and we're grateful that he is here with us, and you're in for a real treat. So, Brother Miller, we'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you so much, Elder Farnsworth. I will share my screen right away, and we can jump right into this. Okay, so I am going to just show how to install Goldie Mae, which we did in the other video, but let's do it again today just to make sure that's really clear. So Goldie Mae is at goldiemay.com. This is the name of my great-grandmother, Goldie, and then my wife's family has a May, M-A-Y, so we put those together. goldiemay.com, and then you'll click on this gold button, install for free, and then it will take you to the Chrome web store where you'll see add to Chrome. I already have it, so it says remove from Chrome, but you'll see add to Chrome. And then after clicking the button there, you'll see this jigsaw puzzle in the top right of your browser, and there you'll see the option to pin Goldie Mae. So once you've pinned Goldie Mae in your menu, then you see this black G. So once you see the black G, you're all installed, ready to go, and that's what we'll be working with today. So I'll open Goldie Mae and open up FamilySearch on the left. And today we're going to talk about volunteering, and I'm really thankful to have Sister Esplin and James Tanner here with me to make this effort together. The volunteering activity in Goldie Mae is an activity of judgment and deciding what records should be added to the FamilySearch tree. So we're going to do that together. This is in collaboration with the BYU Record Linking Lab that's run by Dr. Joe Price. And so Goldie Mae receives hint data from the Record Linking Lab, which received it from FamilySearch. And so I'll explain as we go what exactly this is, but you can read all about it here in the volunteering tab. I'm going to hit start and we'll jump right in and just describe what's going on here. And do feel free to ask any questions that come up along the way. So on the left, you've noticed that as I hit start, FamilySearch opened with a 1940 census record. And so on the left side of this two-column view, we're seeing Robert Lee Harp and Maddie M. Harp, two people mentioned in the 1940 census. And on the right side, we see Robert Harp and Maddie M from the tree, and it's got the tree IDs for them. And so if you're familiar with the source linker, you know that this is the place where we say these are or aren't a good match for each other. So we want to decide whether this 1940 census image really belongs with this family in the tree. And if so, we can take the steps to go through and attach this record to the tree. So Goldie Mae is trying to provide you a volunteering activity like indexing. You know, we do indexing where we're writing what we see in an image, and that becomes useful for other people to search those records that are for their family, but not necessarily for ours. And similarly, this is attaching a census record to the tree for some family other than our own. Now, if we were related to Robert Harp and he were in our tree, then we could go to him and look for the records that are hinted for him. And that's what we would be, that's the other way we'd be getting to this page. But through the Record Linking Lab and Goldie Mae, you can be brought to one of these sort of random cases to look at and then contribute to the tree in that way. So let me just back up. Having said that, let me just back up now to kind of the start page again and say that while we think of this as an altruistic effort to add, to improve the tree, to add more people to it, to improve the records that are on the tree, it doesn't have to be entirely altruistic if you don't want it to be. Meaning, if there's a place of interest to you or a surname of interest to you, then you could type that surname here, and then you could say, I want to search, I want to add records for all of my given surname that I care about, a certain line that I care about. And that way you're kind of cutting across all of the people that might be in your tree or other trees to really fill in the gaps for that surname or place. So for example, today I might choose to work on the Hazelton line, which is kind of a different spelling of one of my lines. So I can open up a record for a Hazelton and be working off of that. So that's our kind of starting point. Now, maybe I'll just jump in and now ask Sister Esplin and James to help me as we go through a few of these records and just look at whether we think these records are a good match for the person. And I may just skip this one, and you can always skip if it looks like it's a little unclear whether the record's a good match for the tree. But I want to start out easy, and then let's get into some harder ones. But maybe there's enough kind of going on here that we could take a look at this one. And I'll ask James Tanner and Sister Esplin to just weigh in. Does this record look like a good match for the record on the right, or the tree on the right?
So far it
Okay.
looks pretty good. I
So
don't see
you're-
any problems with it. Birth dates are generally a year off with census records.
Mhm.
So the fact that the birth dates don't match, and they're only, if they're a year off or more slightly, that isn't the big crucial thing.
Okay.
The places are important to look at, and all the places match.
Good. Okay.
So I
So-
don't see a problem. Trying to get an idea of the family though, since I'm obviously have never seen it before. So the original thing is Ethel May. Okay, so we're looking at her parents. And then we're looking at, and she's the daughter. And then what we have down below.
Okay. So yeah, I think we're seeing, is it Ethel Hazelton is her
All right,
married name,
okay, and then
but her
then they have a
husband
daughter.
is, yeah. Okay. And so
And we have
1930 census, but her husband passed away in 1920. So in the census, she still has her married name, but the tree has her maiden name.
Well,
And
yeah.
then similarly, yeah, it's got her, her mother's maiden name is Perkins, mother's married name is Nudd. Yeah. So this, yeah, as I look at this looks pretty good, right? This looks like a
looks
pretty
like
good
she
match.
has a sibling also down there at the bottom.
Yes. Okay. So the brother of
Somebody's brother.
somebody's brother. Okay. So, and maybe I'll tell you what's going on here too with this diagram. This is called the subway map in Goldie Mae, and it's visible for volunteering activities like this. And it's a plot of the places where this family lived, along with the time period they lived, and then the white circles are data coming from the tree, and red circles are coming from this record itself before it's added. So if we go on to add this record to the tree, then these red circles become black circles because they've now been added to the tree. When you first pull up a view like this, you may just see black circles, but then if you click show details, it expands the boxes on the left. And now Goldie Mae can see that data coming from the record. And so then the red dots appear saying, hey, that's the data we're considering adding. And likewise, we're looking for, as James mentioned, a consistent story about the places they lived. So the subway map helps you do that by saying, hey, it looks like they have a data point for living in Rockingham, New Hampshire. The next one is some unknown place in New Hampshire, and that's referring to this birth, the birth in New Hampshire. And then it puts their 1930 residence in Rockingham, New Hampshire. So yeah, this diagram gives us a really consistent view of what's going on here. So, okay, so say we feel really comfortable that we're adding a good record to the tree, then we could go ahead and click compare and add and attach. And you'd go ahead. Yep.
You skip the fact you've got to attach reason.
Okay.
So
you would go back and add a record, the reason attached to source.
yeah, at the very minimum, what you do is indicate that you've looked at the information and you believe it's to be correct.
Yeah. Okay. I admit I don't always do that. For me, as the census record is this foundational record that it often seems to line up so well. I will admit to not doing that every time, but I see your point about doing that.
Well, the reason for it is not necessarily, there's two levels of reasoning. And the first level of reasoning is that, oh, well, this record is correct. And so, I mean, what do we have to say about it? But the other level is you have to, I think it's important to put in a notice that you actually went through a process of looking at it.
That you diagrammed it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
a fair
what
point.
I do is when I add a reason. So I will click down there. My simple reason is names, dates, and places match.
Mm-hmm.
And then that tells me, if I go back to this, that I actually looked at it and made a decision.
Oh, right. Okay. Good point. Okay.
So whatever you put in there, but then it'll copy that each time. So you don't only have to really type it one time.
Yeah. And I've noticed that it also puts the, for a fact like this, that's the 1930 census being added to the tree as a residence place for them. It puts that as a footnote under as a footnote underneath that fact as well, in addition to being kind of in the log. So, okay. So, the other, what I want to show you too about, okay, so let's say this, we've named, states, places add up, name, states, places line up.
Okay. That's
okay.
Say that whatever you put in there is basically, now, if it were complicated and it was a real value judgment, you'd want to explain in more detail. Exactly.
Yeah. Fair point. Fair point. Good. Okay. So it's, Goldie May saying, congrats, this record has been attached. You've not, and I've attached such and such number of records before. I want to point out that this Virginia Hazelton is according to the census record, born in 1921. So the rule for Family Search is we can't add someone that is younger than 110 years old if we don't know that that person died. And so, we'd go into, if we clicked add, it would say, hey, you got to kind of certify that you know this person to be deceased. Otherwise, you're adding a living person. And so Goldie May will give you some help on the right to search for that person. So you can say, I want to search for Virginia Hazelton in Family Search death records, Ancestry death records, Find a Grave, Billion Graves, etc. So if I click this button to launch a search, we could just see if she comes up pretty easily. If she really still is alive and we can't find her, then we would just let that go. But if we can find that, we have a good death record for her, then we might want to add her to the tree to really kind of complete that family. So if we know this is a lady born in 1921 in New Hampshire, and let's see, what is this? This Social Security Death Index may not mention much. Says died in Massachusetts. Yeah. We could kind of go through some of these and say, do we think this is a good match? The burial in Massachusetts, maybe this is our lady, though. Stories, if that's her maiden name, then we might be talking about the wrong person. But that's the idea, is that you're going to be able to get the opportunity to look for death records for anybody that you can't add otherwise. And then, 1909, this brother, this is a brother of I think Mary, if I'm seeing that right. So we could change this focus person to Mary the mother, and then and here we're saying, see if I have that right. Nudd is the maiden name of Ethel. She's got this brother named Philip. And so, if this is the right, if this being the right family, Philip is a person who's not yet on the tree. And do you both feel comfortable moving ahead to add him to the tree?
He's more than 110 years ago.
So automatic add if we want to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
I might mention that if you don't add them, it on your source, when your source comes up in your in the family tree, it'll say unattached people. It'll call your attention to
right. Okay.
Other people on the record that haven't been attached to the family
tree. That's right. Good. Okay. And then this Hazelton granddaughter, we could recenter this again, I think, and probably catch, put her onto the tree or check if she was the one we looked at. Okay. 1921. Okay, great. So we're done with that, and we can click next. Oh, and just a note, Mary Ida Perkins is my 9th cousin once removed. So, I didn't know that going into this, but that turns out to be the relationship. Okay, and so let's pull up another one here. Charles, Hazeltine, Laura, Frida, and subway map, as I look at that, shows places in Indiana. I could just change that to just the state level, and you see a really consistent story. But even at the county level, see some consistency there. And yeah, the names, dates, places seem to line up really well. So that one, again, looks like kind of a home run addition to the family search tree. Any thoughts or and I want to address this too. Any other thoughts on this particular record to either of you?
No, it looks this, it's just fine.
Okay.
One thing that's always going to show up as a difference is if in one record it says there's a county or a city, and another record says there's just a state or a county.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're basically needing to look carefully at the locations and say, well, Indiana obviously is Indiana, and Howard County, assuming that Howard County is part of Indiana, that would be that they're actually the same place. They're not two different places.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Then this is a pop-up that will appear sometimes with Goldie Mae volunteering. Possible duplicate, and it's saying that Frida is a possible duplicate of someone already in the tree. So let's jump over to that. And now the diagram is showing two people plotted here, two Fridas, and one has a data point of being born in Kokomo, Indiana. The other born 2 years later in the same place, Kokomo, Indiana. And then, the green profile has two data points. So you see this residence at age 6, still in Indiana. So, that's a consistent story about this person. Let's look down further. So same parents, even by the ID.
Yeah, the
Same
first
IDs
thing
for
I would
parents.
do would be to look and see how much data is on each one. In this case, I'd suggest switching them.
You put the one that already has sources as the green one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, as the one that survives.
Okay. Yeah, and that's right. She's got the full middle name versus the initial full birth day, or month and year instead of just a year. So yeah, that looks like a great merge to me. Any objections or thoughts on that one?
No.
Okay, so let's go there. And I think the defaults on this page are probably fine as well. And then we could say that no details conflict, I think is fair to say. Okay, and then we'll close those tabs to go back to our main page here. So as we're going through this volunteering activity, we're cleaning up, random duplicate records that appear that happen to be duplicates of these families we're looking at. And I've seen them, far back to, 2012, I think you see some kind of duplicate records that were inserted into the tree when the tree was first introduced. James, you may know more about that history of what records were seeded into the tree at the beginning than I do.
There were a lot of records. The original records in the family tree were the ancestral file, which was user contributed and already contained a lot of duplicates. And then the International Genealogical Index, which was extracted records, which automatically contained at least 3 or 4 duplicates for every person, because each of the events in the lives of the people were extracted separately. So you had a birth record, a marriage record, a death record, and a burial record possibility on every person. So it was major.
Okay, yeah, and I think I've seen that where back in 2012, I'm seeing multiple, profiles of the same person.
And then in addition to that were membership records from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the temple records from the ordinance records from the church.
Okay.
So the information that was in the original set of records was had a lot of duplicates. Now, a number of years ago, they ran a process through the program and they eliminated almost 1 billion duplicates. Not 1 billion, almost 100 million duplicates.
Okay.
And that helped to clean it up. Where these are showing up consistently is when you actually add records or do some research. Then that brings up records that haven't ever been discovered previously. So you can expect to see pretty regularly see duplicates when you're doing anything that has to do with adding records or research or whatever.
Okay, and that turns out to be true for me. That when I'm doing Goldie Mae volunteering, I do regularly see duplicates and have the opportunity to clean those up. Okay, so let me I'll click hide details to kind of close back down these left side boxes. Now we could we could click through the compare, add, attach again. The Goldie Mae gives the option to click the gold button to take care of that for you. So if I click the gold button, my hands are off the mouse now, but you'll just see it go through and click those buttons for me. And actually, it stopped on this Frida one because it was a duplicate that I didn't refresh the page, and it's got a different ID now. But let me just attach that one too. So James, I probably, your recommendation would be for Goldie Mae to be putting in that reason statement as we go there, but it did the attaching for us there. So that's that process. Okay, I'll go next, and maybe we'll see. Okay, and here's a good example too, where it tries to pull up the same family successively. So I can't remember if we were doing 1940 in the previous one, but now it's pulled up. It's looking for records that match the same family first, so that we get the benefit of attaching multiple records to the same family and kind of really fleshing out the details and not kind of depending on one source only. So here we're looking at the same family 1920 census now, and we've already looked at this a little bit, so maybe we feel kind of really comfortable right away to say, hey, there's a good other record for this. Goldie Mae is using 1910 through 1940 census records. So that's what you're seeing there.
I think it would be good to show people that they can still see the record image here if there's some question too. It doesn't take away your ability to actually look
Great
at
point.
it and make it's working.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe we'll run into some cases like that. Sister Esplin and I did this before, and we ran into a case where it was helpful to look at the original image. But yeah, that's right. You could click that image link and open it up in a new tab and just evaluate. And there may be times when that's really helpful. Thanks for pointing that out. Just to point out one other feature here, this is says trending. This means that Amador County, California, other volunteers right now are working on that county. And so if you wanted to jump into a group of other people, then you could click Amador, and then we could pull up records from that county and be working on that with them. So that's one other case. Here's one that's already done. It's all green. So you'll see Goldie Mae kind of skip right past that page and then pull up another one. So, okay, let's look at this one. Cesro R. Marchini. That looks like a very unique name, in my opinion. Names line up well. The years are a year off, like we'd expect in the census. Wife Sophia has her maiden name on the tree. Years line up. Places look good there. On the subway map, the red dot says, okay, we've got a New Jersey birth, and then moving to California. And then we've got them both together in Amador County. And then the tree already has them in the 1940 census living in Amador County, California. So the red dots we would be adding line up really well with the black dots that are already there. We've got kind of a slight difference in birth years for the one, I guess this is the husband, but really line up really well. Amador County, California versus just an unknown county in California. So no concern there. So I think looking at this as a whole, this looks like a really good match. I would attach that and move forward with that one. Okay, is this a good time to pause and ask if there are any questions right now? Or maybe you just tell me if you see any questions pop up in the chat, since I'm not watching that.
Yes, there's a question in the chat that says, how is Goldie Mae and FamilySearch linked? I can't get them working together.
Okay, maybe that's something I'd have to address offline, and you'll find my email address at the bottom of this page. The short answer is that Goldie Mae uses the FamilySearch API so that it can read data that you're in. Then it also is viewing data that's on this page to know kind of what you're looking at and be able to, plot points for it or provide links to things. So
It doesn't matter if you're signed into Family Search when you open Goldie Mae, or do you need to sign in through Goldie Mae to Family Search?
Oh, I see. Yeah, maybe that wasn't obvious because I didn't log in when I opened up the app. But yeah, it's got a sign in option here, and then it will ask to sign in with your Family Search account, and then you'll be able to go get into volunteering. Good question.
And somebody's asking again, they missed the first couple of minutes. Where is Goldie Mae?
It's goldiemay.com. Yep,
And
so
does it only work in Chrome? And if I remember correctly, that answer.
Yeah, at the moment it's Chrome only or Chrome-based browsers, of which there are a few, but not yet Safari or Firefox. Yeah, that's right.
So it just the extension that attached to your browser.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. It's a browser extension. And so it's running in your browser with this black G. And, last week we talked about it having a free research log where you can keep a record of all the pages you visited. And it can do that because it's running in your browser. So a portion of the software is, on your computer in that browser extension. Most of the software is not on your computer. It's software as a service. So this window and kind of everything in it is running the Goldie Mae service. And the benefit of that is that it's in the cloud. So if you were to use Goldie Mae in a library, you don't have to save any files to a thumb drive or anything like that, because just the act of signing in brings you back to your records and your data. So that's it's kind of a hybrid model of being in the cloud and being a piece of software as well, if that makes sense.
Yes, and so the answer is you need to add it as an extension. And then the little puzzle piece up here is where you'll put in to pin it.
Yep. Yeah, if you don't pin it, you'll just see this, you'll kind of wonder where it is. But if you click the puzzle piece, you can choose to pin it. You don't have to pin it. If you just click Goldie Mae here, it would open too. But if you pin it, you'll kind of more conveniently see that black G in your menu bar. Yep.
And I might mention one other thing. When you're talking about Chrome, Chrome is the browser of choice of Family Search, and it's possible that you'll see other browsers, meaning Firefox or any of the others that are out there. You may see differences in the way that the Family Search Family Tree works, and in some cases, if your browser is not one of the major browsers, you're using one of the other. There's dozens, by the way, out there. You may even find error messages and things that do not work in the Family Search Family Tree. So it just, there's no compulsion. You can use Safari, you could use Firefox, but you'll see a better experience with Family Search, the whole website, if you use Chrome.
That's great to hear. Thanks for saying that, James. Okay, so let's take a look at another family here. I'll pull up, so John Lasik and Minnie Lasik, born in Yugoslavia and Austria. Why is that okay?
Well, if he was born in 1895, he could have been born in Yugoslavia, and at that time, you'd have to go to the maps and have to go to some history, but it's probably the Austria-Hungarian Empire at that time. So
okay, that's what I wanted to.
A lot of people who were born in Austria that say they're born in Austria are in fact born someplace in another country that we would identify as a different country. And then also you need to understand that Yugoslavia no longer exists, and things like that need to be identified with a little bit of history.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we kind of have a snapshot there of calling it Yugoslavia in 1930, but yeah, before that it might have been Austria, and now it's not Yugoslavia either. So, okay. So that's, and then Minnie is the wife here, born in 1903, California. We've got some consistency in the prior, in this Amador County, where we have residences for her in Amador County in 1910, 20, and 40, and then we're considering adding this 1930. So Yeah, that seems like a great addition here. And then the act of adding, let's see, we've got a son, John. And then, yeah, I was going to mention these, we can't add these family members necessarily automatically. Whoops, I dragged it there. We can't add these automatically because they are not 110 years old yet, but we could maybe take a look at those. So we've got 4 people that could be, 4 records that could be added to this tree. I'll go ahead and hit attach. And then when this is done, let's do that activity of looking for the son, Tony, in the death records and see if, because he's got a pretty unique last name, maybe we can find him. That's kind of an obvious fit for one of the death records that pulls up here. And
for that, because somebody said that death record search is super cool.
No, good, thanks. Let's see, we've got a Oregon death index, and let's just open up a couple of these. Tony Lasik, Antone Peter Lasik. Oh, hey, there's Amador County, California. Let's look at that one. So this is coming from Find a Grave, where we've got an Amador County, Tony Lasik. Yeah, born 1924. That would go with our 25 here. And gosh, this looks like a great record here showing his death. So do you have any other questions about that, the two of you? Or does that seem like a good match?
No, but the problem here is that if the person, if you decide I'm going to put this person in regardless, because even if I can't find that they're dead, the answer to that is that if any living person, all people, no matter when they're born, if they're not marked as deceased, end up being living by default in the family search family tree.
Yeah.
And then you are the only person who can view that record or do anything about that record.
Yeah, you don't want that, right? Like you don't
doesn't
want
change. Yeah, it doesn't change the record in the that's online, but it does. Nobody else sees that. So
I'll illustrate what you're saying. If I had done add, and then I have to choose deceased or living, and if I choose deceased, I have to tell why. But if I choose living, then no one else will see the record, and that's not what we want. Yeah.
Well, whether you choose living or not, if you try to add it without a death record, you won't. It'll come up living anyway.
Oh, okay. And I thought it wouldn't even let me pass that screen, but that makes sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this person because we've discovered that he's deceased. So that's my reason, is this Find a Grave page, but we could paste in the various points here for him. Birthplace. And deceased, date of death is here. And we're still Amador County, California there, death. Okay, so then, and then a name we said up here, it's got Antone, Peter, Tony. I don't think Family Search will let me do quotes, but I could just keep it like that. And then, let's take out LASIK. And we can and this is, as you know, if you have an exact death date for an ancestor, pretty soon, and maybe we won't wait for it, but pretty soon we'll usually get other hints from Find a Grave or from Family Search. Maybe the Social Security Death Index will come up, or other great sources, because we found an exact death date. I'm going to go ahead and tag. No, it's not that one. Oh, you know what? Actually, what I haven't done yet is added the actual Find a Grave source that we used to substantiate his death. So let me just do that now. And there we go, burial. Okay, so we've done. Yeah, so that's a great one where we happen to find his death record really quickly, and it matched up really well. Now, we could go ahead and do a search for the daughter, the sister in this family, Marie Lasik. It may not be quite as simple because we're working off of her maiden name. It's, she's 8 years old in this census. And so we may or may not find something as obvious. I like to add in the names of the birthplace and the names of the parents in this case. So, for example, Marie is born in California. So I'll add that to the search. And then we can add father, John, and mother was, I don't know which part of that will be the most helpful. Domina Mini. I'll see if that comes up with anything really obvious or helpful. We could take a look at these if without, these are the only LASIKs. Not seeing anything obvious there personally, so maybe I wouldn't touch this, or maybe she's still alive and we wouldn't want to go any further. But that's an attempt to look for Marie in the death records. We could also check Ancestry death records. And sometimes I'm holding down the command key on my computer, or it'd be control on a PC, but you could just click through each of these links and let them all open in tabs and just say, is there really anything, super obvious that would substantiate her death? And if not, maybe we just leave it alone. But I'm not, what about that one? Mary Lasik, Watsonville, Santa Cruz. I don't know how close that is to our county of interest. Maybe that's something, maybe that's an activity for another day, but we've done a good job here of, filling out this family tree profile on the FamilySearch tree with more data than it had before. We've added Tony to the tree, and the tree in this little neck of the woods is looking, a little better. And that's the goal here with volunteering, is to, leave it a little better than we found it as we go. And then we can kind of, move on to the next one. And maybe
So
I'm going to do, yeah.
Now you just click on the G once you've got it on your Chrome browser. You click on
That's right.
And that opens up Goldie Mae. Is that correct?
Yeah, you'll see it like this, kind of black and white G, and then you click it and it'll turn gold and black, and then that side window opens, and then it should give you a prompt to sign in with your FamilySearch account. That's right.
Did that help, Elder and Sister Whitaker? I think it's Whitaker. Oh, it didn't help them.
Let's take a look at this one, because sometimes it's really easy when the records have a mother and a father and 3 children and it lines up kind of perfectly well, but maybe we can just skip ahead to a couple of the harder cases and still see if we can make those work. So Sister Esplin and James, give me your thoughts on this one, where we've got a single man in the 1930 census, and it looks like he's about 41. And what would we want to know to substantiate that this is the right person in the tree versus some other person by that same name?
Well, you'd know more than you've got there, that's for sure.
Okay.
The simplest way to start that out is to now kind of put that in and open another window, and then do some searching for that person. You can do that through your Goldie Mae also, I guess, is to actually do some research and find out if this person actually got married in 1918 in Maricopa County, Arizona.
Okay. And so yeah.
Because right now what you have is a name and a date and a very general place. And even though he now shows up in California, there's no connection between Maricopa County, Arizona, and if this other person is correct and it's in Placerville.
Yeah, if I go state level on this diagram, born in North Dakota, living in California, and then the tree says he moved to Arizona, and then the tree already says Placerville County, Placer County, California, but what's the connection to Amador County, if any?
Because it looks like there's a little too much moving around, and even though you may think that William Alexander Falconer is a kind of a unusual name, unless you happen to know that you recognize that there's 5 people with that name or something. basically you just need to do a search to see if there's what kinds of records are coming up. So the simplest search to make is just search for his name, William A. Falconer, in FamilySearch and see how many people come up.
Okay, let's do that. And here I've really chosen his specific details, but do you want me to go ahead and just do the name instead?
Yeah, just
okay. So go ahead and remove some of these specific things.
See, now you've got
quite a few, huh?
Well, they may all be the same person, but it doesn't look like it.
Mm-hmm.
There's one in New Zealand, there's one in Belgium, there's one in Michigan, there's
yeah. What if I choose exact?
You've still got quite a few.
Still got that New Zealand and California, Belgium. Yeah. So you'd want to sort that out. Okay.
Yeah. So that before you would assume that this was the right person, you would want to have more information,
mm-hmm.
because there's nothing on the screen there that would definitely connect. Rather than the fact that there's the one that has on the right side the long list of places has all those. And this is the 1930 census. This says he was a resident in 1930 in Berkeley, Alameda County. And that census would say he was in Volcano, Amador County. So it's interesting.
Yeah, good point.
If those two places are close to each other, or if they're actually the same place or whatever, I doubt it, because Alameda and I know they're Alameda and Amador are not the same counties.
One option here in the subway map is to map the places. So it will take the places listed on the left and put them on a Google map. There's probably a good time for that, which is, California and North Dakota. I'll just remove those. But then if we're looking at the counties, let's remove Arizona. Now we're looking at those three counties.
Amador is clear up on the other side of the mountains, and Alameda's next to San Jose.
Yeah, so Placer and Amador have a better story together, but not
in the same year.
Not Alameda. Yeah,
they show.
Yeah, not in the same year. That's for sure. Yeah.
So there's a real question there. I wouldn't add that automatically.
Yeah, and maybe this tree profile is kind of internally inconsistent as it stands. Maybe I don't know for sure, but that would probably warrant some more research there. So yeah, I think in this case, if we're kind of just trying to help in the way we can as a volunteer, I'd probably skip that one too.
Yeah, the problem with that is that if you start making just matching names up, then you're going to be wrong about a significant percentage of the time.
Yeah, we want to be matching names and places, right? And
and right there we had and with that one we had a definite place difference in the same year.
Yeah, in the same year. Yeah, very important. There's another one. Okay, when you see something like this, where one part of the record is already attached to the tree, then it could be that it's a really obvious match to attach to the other spouse, but not always, because you might have a case where the source linker comes up with the second spouse or some other spouse of the husband, and it's comparing the record to the wrong spouse, and so you wouldn't want to necessarily jump in right away. But in this particular case, if someone else thought this is a match and it looks like it is, and then the spouse Mary, born in Ireland, and the years line up well, that looks like a good match to me too. So I would go ahead and attach that. I would
agree with that too.
Good. Okay.
Richard.
Will
you just show again how to get them so that there's two screens side by side?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So that is just a matter of, you start here, and as you click that Goldie Mae window, it will pop open for you. Or I click the G and it opened up the window for me. I've resized it myself to be a little, bigger. It probably starts out something like this, but then I like to just kind of do half and half and pull it over like that. And then next time you open it, it will remember what size you chose last time. So I kind of do go 50 and 50, and that's what it looks like there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In some cases, the window, the family search window, it may end up being a skinny window too. You know, you may have to stretch that out.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes if you go skinny enough too, you'll lose your menu. So you're seeing as I kind of get skinnier, the menu disappears up here, and it's kind of going into iPad mode as if you were on an iPad or something, but you find the menu under this little, the 3 lines.
The technical name for that is hamburger menu.
Yes, the technical name is hamburger menu. That's right. Good. Okay, so that is, let's see what we've got going on here. Okay, so we've got a Theodora Ruiz and Domiciano, and they are born in Spain. Now it's 1920, and they're living in Calaveras, California. And let's see how what this looks like. You know, the family search tree side of this is pretty light on details. I guess it does have a birth date and death date, so that's helpful. But the places are not very specific. It's just Spain and California, both big places. And so to decide that this 1920 census image for a couple by the same name is the right one is maybe a stretch as I see it. Tell me if you all feel differently. And the other thing we see here is Pilar, which is they have a daughter named Pilar on the tree, but the record shows this being a son. So that's a good time, as Sister Esplenda mentioned, to open up the original image and just see if we can catch, was it an indexing mistake or something like that? It does say Pilar, son, male.
Pilar is a girl's name.
Okay, that's what I had always heard it as too. So,
but,
rare exception here, or is this just a mistake by the indexer? That would be
I would be very hesitant. I would need to have more information before I would automatically do anything with these names, because these are extremely common names.
Yeah. Okay.
And
one thing go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, even with the children's names, they're all very common. So the problem with that is, it's just like if this family was named in English was named Brown or Jones, and their kids were named John and Robert and William and and Mary, and because those are all. So basically, the fact that there's a child and the parents' names agree, that gives you an indication. But I would, once again, I'd make a little bit of, see what records already were attached. Apparently there's something else already attached to this family, so which would may be able to be defined.
Yeah, maybe. And so, and I was going to open up Pilar's profile and see if she's got any sources, and she doesn't.
No.
Okay, born in 1913, so she'd be 7 in this census. We could also try to find Pilar in 1930 and 1940. That's one option of the subway map, is to turn on hints, and then these gold dots appear. And so then it can attempt to do a search for, in this case, it's the mother, the head of household on FamilySearch. But we could try to find, and let's just double check that Theodora doesn't have, let's see what her one source is. It's a death index.
Yeah, see,
so that's all we have there. So yeah, I would want to go, in this case, I think we could open up a 1930 census search for Theodora. Maybe we'd want to do 1940 and look for a really consistent pattern of the names. And this Pilar, is this a daughter or a son? And then maybe more details emerge about, this Calaveras County, California is really consistently their home. And maybe we'd feel more comfortable about adding those once we see more.
I think the important part here is to realize that you can take the time. This isn't a race, and it isn't trying to get, a million records attached. It's about doing good quality work. And if you want to take the time to find them in those census, that helps.
That's right. Yeah. Well said. If you don't want to take the time in, this particular case, I would hit skip and and don't and move on to another one. Yeah, that's right. That's a great point. Well, any other questions we should address, or is it helpful to just show a couple more cases, or where should we go from here? This is kind of an open-ended presentation to just show some of the options here and introduce you to volunteering.
Well, one thing I might mention is that you can do the same thing with your own records. In other words, when you're working with the FamilySearch family tree, and you start with yourself and your parents, your grandparents, etc., you can go up and look, and going back to about 1850, and add in all of the census records, for example, for each family and each person within each family.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that process systematically and go back and do that, one of the benefits is it's very likely that you'll find people who died in the middle between censuses, children who died in the middle that weren't in a census, and other things like that will begin to show up as being possibilities. But it's kind of the first basic level of doing the research in that time period, going from today back through all the census records back. 1850 being the first census in the United States where the family members were identified. And another point that came up just recently with the 1850 census, the 1850 census does not identify children or parents as husband and wife and head of household and wife or spouse and daughter, son, and all of those kinds of things, son-in-law, whatever. But they are put in the order of the actual age that they are living in the house, and all of the birth children are listed first. That was the rule that they had to follow. So even in the 1850 census, you need to be careful that maybe the names run out and you start to see birth dates that don't agree. That may mean that there are other like stepchildren or cousins or whatever that are living with the family. But
great point.
The first names ought to be right in the right order.
Good.
So
okay, that's a great point.
This can all be done with the free version of Goldie Mae, right?
That's right. Yeah, this is all the free version of Goldie Mae.
Now we've gone too fast, so let's just go back through the process again.
Okay.
Of looking at it, and then if you decide you want to try to find the death records and that, where would you go, just so that people can see that?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go ahead and hit skip to. We'll find one of these records that has someone born, that's older than 110. Actually, here's a few of them. Okay, so let's take a look. It's saying that as currently arranged, 2 records can be attached and 0 new people can be created in the tree. So it's saying that the mother and father here are, the profiles are already on the tree, and then all of these adds cannot be done automatically because these folks are all younger than 110 years old. So let's go ahead and compare this one. The names line up really well. The places and birth years line up really well. I don't think I see other objection here to adding this tree or this record. So 1940, I'll go ahead and hit attach. And now as that finishes, it'll say you're done in a sense, but kind of the bonus activity, if you want to take it, is to say, hey, there's several people younger than 110 years old. And so it's these links that appear kind of on the congrats page where you can say, I want to launch searches for these various people. So, we could do the first one. Well, Wendell Fankhauser, I'll click the link and let's see what we find. And I'll just move this over and close some of these tabs. All right, we're talking about someone born in West Virginia, and let's go ahead and put that into the search to really narrow in if that's a factor. And let's open up that obituary and take a look. I'll look at this. Maybe Staniel Wendell was his name. We could see if that's there's no obvious match except for that first one. So let's look at that obituary. Okay, and where do we see Wendell on this page? Surviving are the 3 sons, Wendell Fankhauser of Baker, West Virginia. So if Wendell is a survivor in this obituary, then that would not substantiate his death.
No, and
So-
this is not this. Yeah, the names have been are changing too. So
They're a little different. You're saying it was
Yeah.
Fink and Funk,
yeah,
and yeah. Now the West Virginia lines up, but yeah, if he's not mentioned as someone deceased here, then we wouldn't use that as the basis for
Yeah.
adding him to the tree. We could go ahead and check, Glenn. We could pop open those links here and see if his brother is passed. And let's check it was West Virginia. I'll add West Virginia here.
okay. Well, I'm running out of time here. I need to get off. I have another appointment.
James, thank you for joining us
Okay.
today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Hope things. If there's any questions, they can always email us or call us at the library.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, James. It's still picking up Funkhauser instead of Frank Hauser.
Yeah, so that's okay, so let's check this one. Glenn. I don't necessarily see anything obvious here. I mean, this Navy record doesn't say, where he was born, and the spelling's a little different. So yeah, maybe, I don't know, and it's sometimes true as I've done this that, if these two people are still alive, which they may be, then we wouldn't find a death record easily. But sometimes you go to other of the siblings and really quickly you find a death record, and that's, just because they're deceased and there's a record for it, and it's just not always true of everyone. So let's check this one. Which one did I open? Howard, I think, was what I had next. Okay, well, maybe that illustrates the principle, at least, of what we're doing here, which is we're looking for, once you get onto that congrats page where you're possibly done, you can do the bonus activity of looking for death records for people to decide if we want to add them to the tree.
And remind me again how you can map it.
Okay, yeah, mapping is, let me pull up a new record. That one's done. It'll go on to the next one. Okay, yeah, so when you pull up a new record and it's in that moment of decision, whether we should attach this record, and you've got these, you're looking at this diagram, you can change the kind of precision level of the places from, city level, where you get the lines kind of zigzag more and you'd have to analyze it more carefully, or you can switch down to county or state. But whichever one of those you've chosen, so say you've chosen counties like this, you can choose map the places, and it will launch a search for those 4 counties on Google Maps. So that first one we were looking at said unknown West Virginia. So Google Maps just shows that as West Virginia. And if you know where West Virginia is, that may not be helpful, and you'll just maybe want to hit the X to remove it. But then the 3 remaining counties you can see on a map, and you can see, are those close or not close? And is that helpful to, decide that these people, the place story is consistent, right? That's what we're going for, is consistent story in the places.
Right, and if you look at the time period, you can see how likely is it that they could maneuver those many miles.
Yeah, that's right. So we're 1940 here, or this is 1920 through this, through modern times. So that's maybe the travel is pretty explainable, based on the time period. Yeah, great point.
So there's are there any other tools that we should see, other record searches than that we haven't demonstrated that we ought to take a look at?
Let's see. One thing we haven't looked at yet is the place resources that are under these tabs. You may have just seen them pop out when I move my mouse around. But say we had looked at a previous record where we thought a marriage record might help kind of connect the record with the tree. If we could find a marriage record, that would be kind of a great missing link. Maybe in that case, here we have a marriage record. Say we didn't have a marriage record, but we had reason to believe they were in St. Mary's or in Maryland. You can open up the St. Mary's wiki page. So you'll click that. I'm actually wondering if it'll work with the little apostrophe there, but or you could open up the Family Search catalog, or you could open up the let me go back and say Family History Guide. So say you open up Maryland counties, and then it highlights St. Mary's on the Family History Guide. And then if you're familiar with the Family History Guide, you've got a lot of resources here to learn about St. Mary's County. And similarly, these other county pages that opened up, this is the Family Search catalog where we could scroll down and say, what do we have for vital records in St. Mary's? And, I don't see anything published. Oh, there's one, marriage records published by St. Mary's County. So maybe this is the exact record or collection that I want to be looking at to find a marriage record in St. Mary's County. These are locked or restricted, so we would want to come into the Family History Library or a Family History Center to look at those. But maybe that would be the missing piece that we need to connect this family to, to connect the record we're attaching to the family and make sure that's a good fit. So those place resources end up being, I think, pretty helpful, because you can just jump into the exact places that match where you're researching.
So Richard, it strikes me that if you really want to kind of focus on your own family, if you know where they were at that particular point in time, and then you start looking at people in that area and looking in the surname, this is a great way to pull up a lot of quick and dirty fast tools to get into a lot of other sources.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and I think those links.
Where you've been.
Yeah, the catalog and the Family Search Wiki and Family History Guide all have great links to resources. And you're right, you want to just be really going thoroughly through all the records that might apply to your people at whatever place and time they were.
But this takes you right to where they are. You don't even
that's right.
And search for them, so it cuts off a lot of time.
Yeah, I hope so. I appreciate that. Let's see,
any other questions or comments, or we're about out of time, but this has been great.
Good. Well, I thought I'd end. I know we have kind of a multi-faith audience, and if you'll just indulge me, I was going to share a quote from Elder Garrett Gong, who, the leader of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who sponsors Family Search. And he gave a talk in the recent conference about family history. And so he told a cool fact that he's traced his Chinese side of his family back to his 30th great-grandfather, First Dragon Gong. And then on my mother's side, our living family tree includes family names with more to discover. We each have more family with whom to connect. If you think your great aunt has completed all your family genealogy, please find your cousins and cousins' cousins. Connect your living family names with the 10 billion searchable names Family Search now has in its online collection and the 1.3 billion individuals in its family tree. And these are actually pretty interesting footnotes too. When I open up those, in 2021, some 99 million names were added to public family trees. And recently, this is an announcement you may be familiar with, digitization was completed of 2.4 million rolls of microfilm containing 37 billion names. And these names can now be prepared to be searched, found, and added to the family tree of humanity. The other footnote 6 was interesting too, which said, I express appreciation to those who are piloting ways to organize large numbers of family names into family trees. And so I think piloting is an interesting word, because as you get into doing volunteering, you're trying to get more family names into the tree using whatever expertise you have. And I know the viewers of this channel are longtime experienced researchers and can bring a lot to this, because you'll have great judgment about the places and the names and patterns and what's a good match, what's not a good match, what are common surnames, what are not common surnames. So bringing that expertise to bear on this volunteering project, I think you'll do a lot of good and bring a lot of value to because of your experience and expertise. So just wanted to leave that as my parting thought and call to action to invite you to try it out and see how you like it. So thanks for letting me join you today. And yeah, I'd be happy to take any other questions, or you can email me later too if you think of a question later.
Looks like you have a few converts. I'm going to stop the recording.